Now you're looking at the main reason why you'd buy this car. Trust me, there's a point to me shaking this thing on camera. Now, how exciting is this? We have the 2023 Subaru WRX top spec, so the TS model, in its sports wagon form. Now, we should be super excited for this, right? This should be the performance bargain. There should be no questions. I don't even know I'm reviewing it. You've got a wagon for far less money than a Golf R, so go out and buy it. Except there's one slight problem, and it's this thing here. Now, I don't have a problem with automatics, but this is a CVT, so it really doesn't have a place in the sports car world as being known as a good gearbox, but doesn't work for the WRX. And so all WRX wagons will only come with a CVT transmission, and this particular model here is priced from $57,990 as the top of the range spec. And so that means pretty much every feature in here is what you would get on the GT model, which is slightly less expensive, like the sunroof, you're getting front heated seats, rear heated seats, a CD player, rear USB ports, sat nav, all those sorts of things. But then this car, because you're spending a bit more money, will get the really important things if you like driving. So you'll get 5 drive modes, adaptive dampers, and you're also going to get some ultra suede seats, which are just looking a little bit more sporty. Now, the good and useful features continue towards the back. You have a lot of space in here compared to the sedan, and it makes for a wildly practical family car. Now, underneath the boot floor here, you still get a spare tire, which is very useful, and you can even store things under there if you want. Now, we do have these little buttons on the side to fold down the seats, which is extremely useful, and I really enjoy using them, and they're really easy to put back up. So this is a super easy car to live with if you need to store lots of stuff. And if you want to go skiing and take this car to the snow, you have a 40-20-40 split seat system, which means you can have 4 people in nice comfort and slide long items through that middle seat, which is very useful. Now, in the back seats, you're going to have plenty of space as a 5'11" adult. I have plenty of knee room, plenty of feet room, plenty of headroom, and I just feel like this is a very comfortable place to spend a lot of time, although that middle seat is going to feel a little cramped. Now, these ultra suede bucket seats are nice and comfortable on my bum and keep me in place, which is very useful if you plan on driving this thing just a little bit more aggressively on the school run. Now, the thing is, this car has some STI badges on the headrest, on the steering wheel, and in the gauge cluster, which is strange because this isn't an STI model. I guess Subaru are adopting the Mercedes AMG line approach and putting STI badges throughout the car to make you feel like you're in something a little bit more sporty, even though this isn't a dedicated STI model. I've just got my fingers crossed here that hopefully we'll see something a little bit more sporty in the future. Now, inside, the materials feel decent. There's plenty of rough plastics, and I really do not like the fake carbon fiber effect here, but overall it is a visually pleasant looking interior, and it's nice to sit in here and spend a bit of time. It does feel a little bit sporty thanks to this flat bottom steering wheel and plenty of red stitching. Now, even though a lot of your controls are thrown into this center 11-inch vertical screen, it's all right to use, and the user experience can feel a little bit clunky, and the design feels just a little bit basic, but it does the job just fine, although I would have liked to seen a higher refresh rate for things like Apple CarPlay. Now, for the driver's display, I have 2 analog dials, which does feel a little bit old school, but I don't really mind it at all. We have a center color display, which shows you a lot of information about your trip and also what's going on with your car, and it also has a turbo boost gauge, which is very cool. But I would say that this motor is definitely worth getting excited for. It's a larger 2.4 litre flat 4 turbocharged unit that produces 202 kilowatts and 350 newton meters. Now, it's not a lot of power compared to the previous generation, but it's actually got strengthened internals, so it's meant to be able to be a bit better reliability wise and hopefully withstand a few bolt-on upgrades that Subaru sort of expects people to do with this motor. Now, reliability wise, there has been some reports about RTV, which is a type of silicon sort of disintegrating in this motor and going into the oil filter, which isn't a good thing. And so let's just hope that's sort of isolated to a few examples and not a widespread issue. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye out for when you're running through your car, so make sure you regularly service it. Now, as for people who own a WRX and have owned these types of engines before, it scores a 4 out of 5 on our website, which means it's been more than reliable for a lot of people, and people really enjoyed using this car overall, so that's a good sign. Now, as for servicing and warranty, you can expect to pay $2,365.74 to service this thing over 5 services. So this car's covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty, but those service intervals are every year or every 15,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Now this car hasn't been rated by ANCAP yet, so this doesn't have a safety rating here in Australia, but we can safely assume this is going to be a safe car because previous WRXs and other Subarus are considered very safe vehicles. And over in the USA, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has considered the new WRX to be a top safety pick. Now, the biggest gripe I have with the new WRX is that they reserve some safety features for the automatic models, and then you have to spend more to get the higher trim models to get equipment like Subaru's eyesight cameras. So your safest cars are going to be the GT and TS models in the wagon lineup. Now, my top 3 favorite safety features include the driver attention monitoring system because it's very alert and it will instantly sort of yell at you if you're not looking at the road for whatever reason, which I greatly appreciate. I also do like the autonomous emergency braking, which you can adjust through the screen, which is using these eyesight cameras here, which is very useful. And I also do like the active lane keep assist you get on these higher spec models, which makes it a lot easier to sort of avoid any drifting when you're out on the highway. Now back to this transmission you see here. This CVT might make or break this whole experience. So let's find out what Subaru have done and why they put it in the WRX. So when you start up the WRX Sportswagon, it's always going to start normal if you have drive modes available to you. We have Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Individual. So in Comfort, the dampeners are nice and relaxed, and I have a very just comfortable cloud-like experience. This thing just cruises over any gross bits of road and just makes you feel nice and relaxed, which is very shocking considering that this is meant to be a WRX. Now, this is the main reason why you'd be buying this car, is because of the dampeners if you want to buy the most expensive version of this car. Now, jumping into normal mode, we do get a bit of a traditional experience in terms of just a responsive-ish type car, and it's also a little bit more stiff. You do get sport mode to enhance that a little bit more, and the revs start to climb, but it's not, you know, the mode I'd be spending all my time in. Really, it's either comfort mode or sports plus. Individuals there if you like a comfort type suspension, but you want that sporty response from the motor and, you know, car. But to be honest, I just enjoy using comfort and sport plus as my modes that I cruise around in. Now, sport plus does offer a more sporty suspension setup, a more sporty throttle pickup, and this thing becomes a bit of a weapon, which is quite nice. Now, we do have some good Subaru WRX weather here, and we are going to be using the sport mode in our all-wheel drive system. So we're getting a 45 and 55 split for our front and rear power delivery. Now let's head up through these corners because this is what this car is built for. As we go through, I'm ignoring the fact we have a CVT and just seeing how this thing responds. Now we're going through here, some nice corners, we're getting that all-wheel drive grip, and this thing has a great amount of balance. Now I can feel this is a bit softer than the sedan, so you know your kids aren't going to be jumping around the back and getting tiny concussions when you're going over some rough bits of road, but you can still feel most of the road underneath you. This steering feel is a little vague and feels a little light still. I'm not too sure how you could rein that in, and these tires do feel a little skinny. That helps with, you know, quick darty feeling handling, but I would have liked some stickier rubber from factory, but instead that's something you'd probably have to do aftermarket. Now, I've been averaging around 11.4 litres per 100 Ks in terms of fuel consumption, which is fine, but you will be seeing around 13 litres in the city if you like to drive this thing just a little bit enthusiastically. It doesn't have to be too much, but this can get thirsty kind of quick. Now, that power delivery is nice and strong, although it's not too rapid. This thing goes 0 to 100 in the mid 7-second range, which is just a bit disappointed for a car, you know, that's meant to be quick all-wheel drive and it's a wagon. So, you know, you're not going to be head-to-head with the Golf R that pulls up next to you. Now, going through here, the CVT transmission does feel very CVT. It's staying in the 1 rev range and it's giving me the peak power that I need. And it's just very obvious it's a CVT. Now let's trick it and actually start using the fake gears that have been put in here. So this is 1 continuous gear, but Subaru gives you 6 gears to choose through your paddles here on the steering wheel. And you can go into a manual mode to sort of hold those gears. So we're going through here and a nice tight corner. Excellent stuff. Some nice Aston Martins and Jags out on this little bit of road. And look, it's nice to be able to sort of feel like you are changing gears. I will give Subaru that. So it does feel pretty fun to sort of dart around and get higher up in that rev range, you know? And this 2.4 litre does pull strong, and I do like the power that it delivers through the mid-range, but that initial acceleration when you're waiting for power to come on doesn't feel as rapid as it could be, but once you get going, it does feel nice and strong. You also do get some nice turbo sounds, sort of whooshing when you lift off the accelerator or change gears, so that's kind of fun. And yeah, overall, it's a pretty exciting experience if you want something a bit more tantalizing than a boring SUV, or maybe just your run-of-the-mill sedan or station wagon. But what I will say is that it's not as spicy as it could be. I'd be running out and getting the exhaust mod on this, putting new rubber on it to make it a bit stickier, and then maybe lowering this a tiny bit. Now see what I mean here. On this initial takeoff, it's just, ready, foot down. It's good that it will hold the revs for these fake gears, which is pretty good, as I forgot I was in manual mode. But yeah, it's just needing a bit of an exhaust sound, maybe an intake sound, something just to make it a little bit more flavorsome to drive. Now the brakes do a great job of just sort of being there and ready to go, and I do like them as a set, although they're nothing too special, so I'd be curious to see how they would go on track, although this car does feel nice, light and nimble on its feet. So really what you have here is a sporty wagon that you can haul your family around in comfortably and actually have a good time driving it. I'll say if you go out and buy one of these, I don't think you'll regret it at all. You'll have a really comfortable car. It's the traditional Subaru wagon experience. It feels safe, it feels capable, and of course this is a bona fide WRX from factory, so you're gonna have all those WRX goodies, and plus this being the top spec, you need to buy this model to get those dampeners, which I would highly recommend because it's really the only model that I would see worthwhile buying. Otherwise, the other ones might feel just a little bit mundane if you don't get the flexibility of being able to customize your drive experience. Yeah, I just love that turbo sound too. It just sounds just unreal. Now, road noise is very apparent when you have the tire noise roaring into the cabin. It's not super quiet in here, which I just found a little disappointing for a family car like this. But if it means keeping it lighter, then that's just something you're gonna have to expect as a trade-off. Now, visibility has been excellent in here. You can see these giant glass panels in front of me, in front of the driver's window, which is very useful. And I never felt like this car has been uncomfortable to daily drive. It's been a fantastic option, and I really like how you just have the flexibility of making this a comfortable family car, and then something that's a bit of a canyon carver when you really want to put your foot into it. So it's really fun to be able to have a practical family car that just has actual performance upgrades to it to make it really fun to own and drive. Now, CVT is a scary three-letter word for us automotive enthusiasts, especially when they're thrown in something like a WRX. But instead, Subaru created something a bit more engaging and exciting to own and drive. So you could buy this and you could drag around your mother-in-law or your grandma, and they're not going to be offended that you bought a WRX for the family. Now, I would have liked to have seen a 6-speed manual transmission alternative in this Sportswagon, but I can say I really enjoyed my time in this car. And if I really wanted that manual experience, I could go ahead and buy the sedan still. So I'll see you in the next one.